This week, we journey deep into the spirit realm with one of the most mysterious and powerful of the 13 primes, Onyx Prime. We'll explore each of his 3 modes and a secretive 4th, and come up with some truly inspired display ideas befitting of a prime of his stature. All this and more, only at Heroic Nonsense. Let's go. Onyx Prime, the spiritual progenitor of the Beast Transformers and the most spiritually minded of the 13 primes, brings the primal energy of the Beast realm to life in stunning form. This character is both awe-inspiring and mysterious, with the figure perfectly encapsulating these qualities. Probably one of my favorite of the 13 primes released to date, along with Megatronus. We'll delve deep into the review of his incredible alt modes, and also see how he compares with other primes from the line. Plus, I'll showcase some exciting display ideas that will make Onyx Prime truly stand out in any Transformers collection. Whether you're a fan of the original lore, a collector of modern Prime figures, or just discovering the Age of the Primes line, this spotlight has something for you. Join me as we traverse the mythical realm with Onyx Prime. And here he is, the most majestic of all primes, Onyx Prime. I typically don't go for Transformers with beast modes other than the original G1ers like the Dinobots, Insecticons, and Predacons, and mostly stay away from the techno-organic type Transformers as well. The more robotic and blocky they are in bot mode, the better, even though I do appreciate the aesthetic of the more animalistic bots. However, when I saw this guy in the promo shots, I just knew I had to get him. Something about those angelic wings and his imposing stature spoke to me, and when I saw that Centaur type mode, well, I was hooked. I mean, there is just something about this design that stands out, and I'll do my very best to try and convey that to you in this spotlight. But first, if you haven't liked or subscribed to this channel and are a huge fan of all things Transformers or G.I. Joe, or both, then please take a moment to like and subscribe. It's totally free and really helps this channel grow and is totally appreciated. Now back to Onyx Prime, and man does he look good. He's obviously a big bot, which we'll really get a feel for when we look at his scale in the comparison section, but he's also incredibly detailed and beautifully sculpted. One of the things I really like about him, among many, is the ability to not only display him in a number of poses, but also take those poses and bring them to life by the very nature of his design. While mostly robotic in form, he does have organic elements sprinkled throughout, like on his wings and helm, and that head sculpt is amazing, with just a hint of his silver facial features peering through his ornate headdress. I also realized I'm a total sucker for angelic wings on my bots, so designs like this and that of Nova Primes are hard to resist. They just create such an aura around the figure that you can't help but think they're cool. Anyone else feel that way, or is it just me? As this is a bot based around a beast mode, there are elements of that form that appear in his bot mode, but totally fine with that when it's done properly, with this giving off a very Greek satyr feel to him, which is quite fitting. The side view is really clean, and you barely see that dragon's head, which folds back mostly due to the wings also being pushed back a bit on the body, which works in this case. The back is also very clean, almost insect looking. I didn't notice this until now, but he looks way thinner from this angle than from the front. One of the truly great features of this figure, even though technically a smaller one, is the range of motion that he has for his head, allowing him to be posed in a number of different creative ways, this being one of my favorites. As for those incredibly detailed wings, they can be positioned in numerous ways, allowing you to really create those cool images you might have in your mind. Also, take a look at how his legs and hooves form part of his chest plate, one of my favorite aesthetics. One of the 2 weapons he comes with is this beautifully ornate polearm, which actually represents his triptych mask artifact in this continuity. Polearms are always fun, and there are some great ways you can use them in your displays. I feel that Onyx Prime was made to wield a polearm like this, it just fits so naturally. This image also gives you a better idea of the inspiration for the design of the spearhead, that being the triptych mask, which has some great lore around it. Onyx also comes with a second weapon, that being a bow, which I feel also fits perfectly with his overall look. You can combine the polearm and bow to create this longbow type weapon, which is actually quite impressive and looks quite good. You can position it to give it a more crossbow type feel as well. Storage of weapons is always a big thing for me, so finding ways to incorporate the weapons when not in use is key. You can see from this group of pictures how the various weapons can be stored, and there are lots of ways. There are even storage methods that can keep them more out of sight or integrated into his overall appearance. The instructions don't show any of these methods, except for one which I totally don't use in bot mode, as it essentially gives Onyx a tail in that mode. I think the ones I've discovered are way more practical and look a lot better. If any of you have come up with some other ideas, please share, we'd love to hear about them. The one I'm showing here combines all the weapons into one, which can then be stored on the back. You can see how this is accomplished right here. I think this is ultimately the best way to store them all together, but that's just my preference as I like for weapons on the back to be seen. As for range of motion, quite good actually, even being able to be posed in this position notwithstanding his unique leg design. I also showcase here how the pole arm can be stored separately from the bow while being used. He looks really imposing in this walking position, a pose I always like to test out with my figures as they always look good in displays. Looks even better with those wings flared out this way. So my overall opinion, a beautifully designed and unique looking figure that most definitely will stand out in your collection whether on its own or part of the 13. As we'll see shortly, it even has an easy straightforward transformation to boot. So this mode was the one I was most excited about checking out because it's so out there for a typical Transformers design. I personally don't have one that can be posed in this way. I mean, who wouldn't want a Centaur looking Transformers figure, especially one that has wings? And given that this is an intermediary type transformation between Bot and Beast, I think it looks amazing. It really gives off some mythical vibes and 100% works with the character, so I'm glad they went for it. To be honest, I'm not sure whether I choose the Bot mode or this one to display him in. If you didn't know better, you could be excused for thinking that this was Onyx Prime's main mode. I mean, he looks like he was made to be in this form. Even the way you can position the front legs looks realistic, and that didn't necessarily have to be the case. I also really like the manga-esque feel to those front legs and the top of the hind ones. I'm also really impressed at how good he looks from different angles in this mode. Even better, and something I couldn't quite believe, is that he is able to rear up like a centaur or real horse could. And he actually bounces in this position. I didn't even get to the third alt mode or the display sections, and look at all the ways he can already be displayed. Another position that you could play around with is of him trotting, though since I'm not an equestrian, I don't think I 100% nailed the actual physics of it. While you could try to get the same pose in his bot mode, this one of him kneeling on the ground just looks so much cooler in this centaur mode. We'll see how this can be integrated into displays in a bit. Another favorite of mine, Centaur Onyx about to launch his polearm with his front hoof off the ground just makes for an awesome pose. And of course, Onyx with his longbow in this form seems the most appropriate. I always envision centaurs with these types of bows, not sure where I got that from though. One final minor variation, and one I believe is meant to be used when he is transformed into this mode, Onyx with his bird-like visor lowered down over his face. Truth be told, I have zero interest in this look and would never display him this way. But it's something you can do and something that perhaps gives you a truly intermediary form between his bot form and his dragon beast look. Absolutely love this mode, and I'm really interested in hearing what you guys think. I can't be the only one who likes it this much, right? Now, if that wasn't enough, Onyx Prime has a third mode that is even more unique than the two previous ones combined. I don't even know the right way to describe it, other than it's a dragon-like hippogriff with 6 legs and wings. And while I wasn't as excited for this mode as I was for the other two, I'm now surprisingly really into it, especially having played around with it a lot during the creation of this review. Now, I'll preface this section by saying that in most cases, I am showing him with his fist closed on his front legs versus a more open version, which is the official way to place them. This is simply my preference, and the start of this section actually highlights the official way. But let's not nitpick over details and dive right into the main unique feature of this mode, that of his dragon's head. And minus those tusks protruding from the side, this is a very robotic looking head, which I'm really happy they went with. This mode is really all over the place, but it works. It's so unique, and in this pose really reminds me of the flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz, which is why I typically keep them this way since I find it way more intimidating. We also finally have a new appropriate place to put the bow, which once folded up becomes a very sharp looking tail. More on the horse side though than dragon. As his transformation across the various modes requires a 90-degree swivel up, you can really create some awesome looking shots of him on his 4 hind legs. From the right angle, I almost get a quasi-bug looking feel from him as well, a bit like a praying mantis, though sporting a dragon's head. 100%, this is a look that gives off that flying monkey appearance, especially with those wings folded down. As for his polearm, it splits apart at the spearhead, recombines, and can be placed on his back like so, though I personally think it looks out of place and wouldn't keep it this way. Back to the monkey-dragon hybrid, but a fun way to give him back his spear since he can technically hold it with his front legs. Also looks great as some type of gargoyle-looking beast standing watch atop a cold, dark tower with polearm in hand. Now, if that isn't enough, there's one more secretive mode only really advertised in the instructions booklet, and made for those of you who might perhaps prefer a more standard 4-legged dragon. And it actually looks really great as well, with the second middle set of hind legs folding over the shoulders as they do in bot mode. I'd say this is more of a typical hippogriff-styled beast mode, even though it has a dragon's head, simply because of the shape of the body. And once again, he's able to rear up on his hind legs, though this time it takes a bit more work to balance him properly. With the hooves over his shoulders, this mode really evokes some truly terrifying nightmare feel. I think out of all beast modes, this might be the scariest looking. What do you guys think? Even better, which is your favorite mode, and have you thought of any others? Let the community know in the comment section. Before we go through all the transformations, let's see how he compares to some other bots, appearance and scale-wise. Starting with the other primes of the Age of the Primes line, with Megatronus leading the charge. And man, I thought Megatronus was big when we got him. Between his height and wings, Onyx Prime definitely wins hands down for tallest bot. Using my previous Alpha Trion here, since as I've said in previous reviews, I plan on keeping him because I prefer this version with the beard and much prefer this alt mode. As we move to the other primes, they just individually seem to get less and less impressive because of the size difference. Though we will see how this impression fades away as we display them next to each other in their pantheon. What I'm totally starting to get into, which I thought I wouldn't, is the individual look of each prime and how differently they generally are from the others. Given that they all represent different founders of various Transformers in a way, these different looks nicely tie together all the various timelines and lore. And that even goes for the alt modes, which are beginning to get more and more varied, and will continue to do so with the remaining primes. I actually think Megatronus and Onyx Prime look great together in their alt modes. I think I was primed for these differences when we got Micronus Prime, which was the first bot who was truly way off in style. But again, given the lore in various timelines, these guys all look fine, and I think it helps that they are all Cybertronian alt modes, which allow for a bit more leeway since we're dealing with outwardly forms to begin with. For alt modes, I also like to showcase them from a side view to really get a feel of scale and appearance, but I have to say, while I was putting these images together, not during the photo session, but only after they were in front of me on my computer, did I really truly realize how big Onyx Prime is in this alt mode. Onyx on a battlefield would definitely be a terrifying sight to behold as he charged, towering over the rest of the bots as they approached from the distance. Funny enough, lore-wise, he was the friendliest and most kind-hearted of the primes. Anyway, lots you can build on with that information, especially if you were creating your own stories in your head. As for the bots I showed at the start of this section, we'll explore their scale and appearance in the display ideas section. For now, we'll end with a final shot of all the artifacts that came with the primes. Alright, let's transform him from Beast to Centaur. So first thing we're going to do is lift up these hooves and legs, which form part of his chest. And then we'll lift up this breastplate, or push it down, and push in the arms like so. They're a little tight, but this is the position you want them in. You can just push the wings out of the way. And then you're just going to rotate these legs back and do the same on the other side. Just bring them all the way down like that. And we're going to just move that head out of the way so that we can lift up the body 90 degrees. And then we can just push back the arms to their original position like this. And then you can just push the breastplate back in. We're going to bring down the legs. These are the front legs. And you want to keep them outstretched. Just push the head back in place. And then as far as the back legs go, just get the wings out of the way again. Push the dragon's head in the back. You're just going to bring them down and kind of lift these up a little bit, not all the way back, because in this mode you want them to be taller. In the beast mode, you actually push it back all the way. You just display the wings the way you want. And there you have it. Onyx in his Centaur form. And if you want to display him the way you're supposed to, according to the instructions, just close up his mask and you have the kind of bird-like look. So now we're going to transform him from his Centaur mode into his Hippogriff fish dragon mode. So let's just push the head back. And you actually want to keep it closed this time. You're going to lift the breastplate up like this to cover the head, and then you'll push the arms in again like we did earlier. And then you just want to rotate the lower part of the arms out 90 degrees, and then rotate the hands like that. This time we're going to push the body back down. So just move everything out of the way. I'm just gonna move these arms out so you can get it flush like that. And we're going to take this kind of chest plate or the whatever that was. Anyways, we're going to push it back so we make room for the legs. And this time you push them all the way back. So those lower legs are going to snap all the way in like so. Okay, you can close up the back of the feet when he's in bot mode. You could do that for the Centaur mode as well, but I usually leave them open. Kind of just put this kind of armor up. And now we'll take the middle hind legs and we'll push those up all the way as well. So we didn't do that for the Centaur, but we'll do that here. And you can see everything starting to line up a little bit better. And then the last real thing we have to do is just bring the dragon's head down, and it covers up the bot head pretty nicely. And then we just have to put the tail on, which is basically his bow that we just close like this. And we're going to tab it in right over here and just push that down, and there you go. The dragon / hippogriff mode. You can see how all the legs line up here. And finally, I'm going to show you how to kind of convert him into his more dragon-like mode. It's basically just taking these middle hind legs. We're going to straighten them out and then just rotate them back over the shoulders. The best way to do it is to lower the front legs like I just did. And you can bring those over, and then you just push the arms back, those front arms, so that the hind legs can click in place. So we're going to do the same here. Those middle hind legs, we're going to straighten it out. And we're going to rotate it over the front shoulder after we move it out of the way. And then you just open up the shoulder again, bring it down, click it in. And then you can bring down the arms and then just rotate them, the lower parts back in. And there you have it. And if you want, you can open up the fist to make that claw kind of look. I like to keep mine like this. Interestingly enough, I didn't think I'd have a ton of display ideas, but given Onyx Prime's versatility as a toy and a story, I actually came up with quite a few. I'm totally going to run out of room for this shot as we round out the last few primes, but they do really look good together in this setup, especially when you add in Vector Sigma. I also really like this idea of a young Orion Pax visiting the pantheon of primes somewhere on Cybertron, either displayed as statues or digital renders. Just something about him being there surrounded by these ancient beings, seeking out some truth he didn't know he was even searching for. I think next time I'll do a version of this with Optimus Prime. I rearranged this one slightly to have Prime in the center as the embodiment of leadership and light. Though having Onyx front and center could work too, as per my previous images, since he could be viewed as a balance between the opposing Prime and Megatronus. Either way, these three together are quite the display idea, and I love the interplay between their colors as embodiments of different qualities. I just like the shot because it's a closer shot of the images before and just captures the feeling of awe and wonderment a bit better. But if we head back millennia, this group of primes would have in fact been very active. So having them actually displayed in a more dynamic way actually might be my preference. Do any of you have a preference for one over the other? A close-up of these two together is epic on its own, and if you have just these two, I think they'd still make for a great display. You definitely don't need the entire group of primes to create some cool shots of these guys together. I'd like this one because based on the lore, Micronus Prime really looked up to Onyx and considered him his closest friend. It also totally works as a fun display idea given the huge discrepancy in size. As for alt modes, like I said earlier, regardless of how varied these guys are when compared to each other, they still kind of work. Just something about having all these varieties of primes together, even in their alt modes, knowing their background and place in Cybertronian history makes sense. But with every period of unity comes a period of division, and this battle portrayed here would have been epic. The widely different alt modes and their scale makes for such a visually impressive display idea. Whether by claw or by bite, Onyx would have been quite a challenge for Megatronus. And there really are tons of ways you can create a fight between the two. My preference being this one, where Onyx Prime is biting into Megatronus as he lifts him off the ground, tank treads still rolling. I've teased this enough, so let's see how he looks with some older beast spots in our roster, my favorite being with Weird Wolf. Now we don't have a ton of techno-organic transformers to showcase here, so I thought these would be best suited versus our few Beast Wars versions, simply because I think they work better as more robotic looking beasts. Out of our group, I feel Fangry is closest in style, though not level of design, given that he also has some organic parts to him. I think bots like Tigerhawk and the upcoming Razorclaw will look amazing. We might get Razorclaw now just to pair him with Onyx Prime. My Cronus is back, this time riding on his winged companion, which totally works. But does his outer shell fit as well? Yes, it does. Actually works more realistically if you were to scale a humanoid form with a rideable beast mode. Actually, I think this looks quite good. What do you guys think? Definitely a space saver if you need some room for the other primes. And can you believe it? Onyx can still rear up and stay balanced with a bot on his back, though I have to admit this took a bit of work. Still, I personally think it was worth it. I alluded to this earlier, Onyx Prime defiant until the end on his knees before Megatronus pulls the trigger. Somehow, I don't think this is the end for Onyx, but makes for a great cliffhanger. And finally, rounding out the shots of the monster bots and other beasts, a nice image of them in bot mode all together. If we were to separate out the primes on our displays, I think this is the way we'd set it up for Onyx. It's a nice way to bring all the storylines and universes together. And one final shot to end on of the Beast Unleashed. So they really needed to fit in a ton of art on this box, with the front panel showing a really great stylized image of Onyx Prime in his bot and Centaur mode, with the side showcasing this really beautiful shot of him in his dragon mode, almost giving off an impression of a tiger stalking its prey. The back showcases his artifact and his 3 modes, but like the front and side, it doesn't hint at all to his 4th mode, which you only find out about once you open the box and look at the instructions. And the side view has Onyx in the Pantheon with 2 other primes which have not yet been released. So that's it guys, we're at the end of this spotlight of Onyx Prime. What do you guys think of this figure and the Age of the Primes line itself so far? Anyone planning on picking him up or already did? Inquiring minds want to know. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. See you all next time, and remember, it's all such heroic nonsense in the end.
Bravo!